Okay, 9 minutes on physics and finding God. Buckle your seatbelts. My name is Kyle, and I got a C in college physics. Now, the thing to understand is that I wasn't actually in school for physics. See, I was there for design. But when you do design at an engineering school like I did, they make you take physics. Second thing to know is my really well-intentioned roommate at the start of the semester had said, dude, don't worry about physics. It's cake. You don't have to study. Go to class. It's easy. And I was like, awesome. So I didn't, which meant I was failing going into the final because my roommate was literally a certified genius, and I am not. Luckily, he helped me cram. I somehow pulled out a C. I have no idea how. I kind of think the professor just didn't want the stench of my stupidity in his classroom anymore, so he was like, get out of here. Which is great with me. I didn't want to be there either, you know? I didn't value physics at all. Like I said, I was there for design. I was into art and aesthetics and beauty, you know? I loved the power of art to communicate in a way that words just can't. Words kind of fall short. Like the word beauty. That's a good word, I guess. But it's a whole different thing to read the word beauty versus to see something beautiful, to be surrounded by beauty, to hold beauty. Or the word elegance, it's all right, it's fine. Elegance, nice. But it's a whole different thing to be in a room that's elegantly designed or to hold something elegantly designed. It's a whole different experience. It goes beyond words. So forget physics. I need physics. I'm here for design. That's what I'm into. Now, in hindsight, I should have valued physics. It's actually a tragic mistake not to. See, at this time in my life, ironically now, looking back, this was the time when I was most ramping up my search for God. I was devouring everything I could get my hands on about Him. I was reading the Bible and books and messages and having conversations and all kinds of stuff. I was discovering that God was like a father. I was discovering God was a king. And even that God was an artist, which was really exciting. But while I was digging into God as a father and learning what it meant to be His son and that He loved me and what it meant that God was a king and I would submit my whole life to Him, I was leaving this thing of God as an artist on the sidelines. In fact, in hindsight, I was utterly ignoring His paintings. It was like I wanted to know everything there was to know about Van Gogh, but I went, I'm just going to read the biography. You know, I don't need to look at his artwork. That's essentially what I was doing. And as a result, my faith was actually a lot weaker than it needed to be. See, things like God's beauty didn't compute. God's power. I lacked awe when it came to God. And so what I want to say to you today is that if you feel the similar, if you feel that same way, you're like, I don't get the beauty thing. We sang that song earlier, God, you're beautiful. And you're just kind of like, I don't see it or feel it. If that's you, or you feel like God is small, or He's powerless, or He's distant, you might just want to pick up a physics book. Because you know what physics is? Physics is the study of His paintings. It's the study of His paintings. This is actually what the Bible says to do, by the way. It says if you want to know more about God, you can kind of go just read the word, sure, but then look at the paintings too. In Psalm 19, it puts it this way. It says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. A few years ago, those verses really jumped off the page at me, and I had this moment of oh my gosh. And I saw the tragedy of physics and me ignoring it and throwing it to the side. All of a sudden I realized what I had done. See, I was in a class that was about His artwork. And I went, no thanks. I'll just stick to the books. And I missed something. And so I've been reading physics books. A decade later, I started picking up physics books and reading them. And do you know what I'm finding? And looking at God's paintings and studying physics and the universe and how all the stuff that He made, I'm finding that God is beautiful, that He is powerful, that the heavens do declare His glory in a way that the words in the book just can't quite get to. I'm discovering that God is bigger and more powerful and more incredible than I ever thought. Now, I don't have enough time to go into all the ways and things I'm discovering there. But if anything at all is sparking in you, get one or both of these two books. The first is The Elegant Universe by Brian Greene. Brian Greene is an atheist, yet he describes a universe that is elegant and beautiful and intricately put together. And he does it in language that, like, even I can understand most of it, so you can probably understand all of it. So, so just get it with some confidence, you know. Second book is called Modern Physics and Ancient Faith. I love the title. I hate the cover. It is awful, but it's a fantastic book. Stephen Barr, he is a physicist at Notre Dame. He is also a believer, and so that book is kind of him going, I looked at the paintings, and they just shout about God. Here's all the ways how. It's fantastic. Like I said, I don't have time to go into everything I'm discovering, but here's just one thing. It's kind of the most fundamental question, you know. If God's an artist, like, how did he make it? And what is it made of? What hangs it all together, so to speak? Well, if you start with the Bible, the words, it would kind of tell you this. It would say that God spoke everything into existence. Not built, not thought, spoke. It's very consistent. It says this in Psalms 33:6. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth, for he spoke and it came to be. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Words. Well, it also says that the universe hangs together by those same words. In Hebrews 1:3, the Son, that's Jesus, is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by his powerful word. Well, so what can physics add to that? What could it tell us? You know, if we looked at the paintings. Well, first, it would tell us about words, about speech. It would say sound, all speech. It's just vibration. So literally, you hear me right now because my vocal cords are vibrating. That makes a wave that goes to your eardrums and vibrates them. My words only exist in those vibrations. That's it. Second, physics could tell us about what everything is made of. It would actually say this. It would say if you could get to the smallest point of something, like what would that itty bitty little point be? Like what is it? And the leading contender for this right now is something called string theory. Don't panic. It's actually not that hard to understand. But you got to get this. There are two pillars of modern physics. One is relativity. It's like all the big stuff, planets and galaxies and all that, and how they work. That's Einstein. And the other is like quantum mechanics. It's all the itty bitty little bitty stuff and how it all works. The problem is the laws that govern this stuff don't match the ones that govern this, but they both appear to be true. And so what modern physics is doing is looking for the unifying theory or the theory of everything to explain it all. And right now, string theory is the leading candidate. And string theory says if you could get to the smallest bit of everything, you know, like we've been trying this for a while. We thought the smallest thing is cells, and then we looked closer and we found atoms, and we looked closer and saw that atoms actually have parts, and then we looked closer and saw that some of those parts actually have parts. And string theory says if you could keep on going, the smallest point, what you'd actually find isn't a point. It's not like a little thing of matter. Instead, what you'd find is like a little loop of string. And that loop of string isn't static. It's not just like, it's actually vibrating. And its very vibration, get this, its very vibration is what gives it its existence. In fact, string theory says if it were to cease vibrating, it would cease to exist. And so what can looking at the paintings describe about God, how things are made? Well, it can tell us that this idea of God's words isn't so ridiculous. It's actually true. And it can say that his word doesn't just like metaphorically hold things together or just hold some things together. Literally everything is held together by his word. The universe, the stars, you, me, the seat you're sitting in, the cup of coffee that you're holding, the couch that you're on. All of it's held together by his word. And so if you're in a spot of your life where you just feel like beauty, I can't get there. Power, I can't get there. Elegance, I can't get there. And you need to sense that from God. You might want to try not just reading the book. Do that, but don't just read the book. Study his paintings. Try looking at physics. Thanks.